One thing that you have to master when you're scaling up to seven-figure months is value-dense emails. One thing that almost all high-ticket product and service-based businesses get wrong nowadays is they just do these generic, really old-school, outdated, kind of like direct response and very like surface-level reminder-based email sequences. This is not a standard video on this channel. This is a mastery video. And every mastery video we do, we go really in depth on the topic. We try to make sure that you really walk away being able to do it. Sure, we hold back a little bit of stuff in a mastery video for the paid members that we have in our inner circle community and our master internet marketing groups, where they're gonna get the real sauce, things like examples, which we won't cover in this video here today. And again, just access to be able to ask me questions about it and ask obviously the communities that they're a part of who are doing it as well questions. But in this video, you will learn a tremendous amount about value-dense email sequences. It's gonna be really beneficial to you if you are on your journey to trying to scale up to seven-figure months or add that next $1 million a month on top of what you're already generating now. We don't make any income claims on this channel. All we do is hand down the top lessons from the 41 different businesses that we've currently worked with and helped get to the $1 million month benchmark. So again, no income claims for you. Not saying you're gonna actually make any money with what we're gonna teach and talk about here today. Just handing down some lessons to you in a little bite-sized clip here on YouTube. So welcome in. If you're new to the channel, that's all we talk about, $1 million months. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you, especially for mastery videos like this one here today. So without further ado, let's dive in. I get really annoyed when I come into a business and I see that there are these generic, surface level, reminder-based, selfish emails in place that do nothing for the person that is going through the buying process. Sometimes repeat offenders of this use crazy verbiage and words that just turn people off. We had an inner circle member when we audited his email marketing that was in place use words like homework and really just continued to press people on watching a singular video without actually articulating anything about the video or what was in the video or why to watch the video. Just a lot of, like I said before, like really like surface level, shallow stuff. And this isn't uncommon. This is actually extremely common, especially in call funnels, challenge funnels, webinar funnels, anything that has some kind of like reminder-based sequence or anything that has a buying cycle that's like more than just a couple days. This is critical to be able to master. So when we talk about value-dense emails, what we're trying to do is we're trying to answer all the questions that are otherwise going to be answered on a sales call or on a webinar or during a challenge funnel ahead of time in the actual email sequence itself. We are attempting to give people the answers that they look for that are otherwise going to prevent them from prioritizing whatever it is that they are currently in the queue to show up to. So this really helps. These value-dense email sequences help a lot when it comes to show rates. They help a ton when it comes to shortening sales cycles, increasing the odds of PIFs, some pay-in-fulls for those unfamiliar. We're just trying to get more money out of the buyers and we're trying to make sure more people show up, increase our ROAS for everything that we're actively spending money on. What you do here is mandatory. Now, one really interesting thing that I want to start with before we actually go into the emails themselves and some examples of what to put inside of these is frequency, okay? Frequency is something that most people are really scared to push up, okay? People seek information when they go through a buying process. That has to be your foundational mindset before you do anything that I'm going to teach here today. The buyer seeks information before they buy, okay? So when you withhold the information for the sales call, or when you withhold the information for the webinar or whatever the key thing is that they're going to show up to or not, you dramatically increase your odds they don't show up. You dramatically increase their odds that they buy over a multiple call duration of time instead of one call closing and piffing, okay? You increase resistance intentionally. We don't have to put it all in one email. We don't have to put it all in two emails. You'd actually be kind of surprised to hear this statistic. We have businesses that are sending up to 6 emails a day. Essentially from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., they're sending an email every other hour. Give or take the schedule, most of them send anywhere from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. every other hour. But that's a little nuanced thing. What I'm trying to make is up to 6 times a day. Even I kind of think that's audacious and crazy. Feels a little uncomfortable. However, and this is kind of the crazy part, the open rate did not diminish with this level of emails being sent per day. Quite contrary to what you might think, the people actually consumed the emails at a higher rate in comparison to when fewer emails were sent. I know, when you send a lot of emails, The key to being able to send a lot of those emails is they have to be value dense and informative. They have to actually help the counterparty and be looked at as beneficial to read through. Because again, when somebody actually wants to buy something, when there's a certain level of interest that exists on the interest spectrum, it's our job as the business to work that interest up to a point where they're convicted enough to purchase. So again, contrary to what you might think, and what you might think is likely,
oh, I'm gonna annoy the shit out of people. I'm gonna get awful feedback if I sent that amount of emails, Jeremy. Why in the world would I wanna do that?
and sure, I will admit, you might get one or two people here and there that are like, why the fuck are you sending me 6 emails a day? However, if your open rates do not diminish, you continue to potentially add more than the 6 a day. So here's how it generally works, okay? Let's just look at this for what it is. If we see an open rate benchmark that fluctuates a little bit but stays relatively the same, we're gonna continue increasing the frequency of the emails until we hit that cap of 6 a day. If I am increasing the quantity of emails that I send and I start to see a drop, okay? If I see a drop in open rates, this is when I know I went too far. So as an example, let's say that I successfully sent off 4 emails, and then when I sent the fifth was the one that went too far and diminished my open rate. I know that 4 is the sweet spot in that example. If I get the opportunity to send all 6 and I don't have any issues and my open rate maintains, I'm going up to the 6, okay? On average, we usually have anywhere between 72 hours, sometimes a little less, in order to get off a very high frequency of emails, especially for things like call funnels. Certain things like webinars, sometimes will have up to a 2-week duration of time. I do want to be very clear, since this is a mastery video, that we do change the frequency count relative to how far out we are actively promoting the thing and the wait time is. So as an example, if I'm seeing a 48-hour to 72-hour window of time from the person booking a call, as an example, before the call occurs, I'm blasting 6 a day at that fucker. If I have a webinar and I'm promoting up to 2 weeks out, not sending 6 a day, that's far too many. Whatever 14 times 6 is seems like an actual audacious amount of emails, and it probably goes beyond the actual amount of information that I'd otherwise have to send the person. So I'm gonna reduce it a fair bit, okay? I'm still essentially gonna get off my 18 over that 2 weeks, but you also gotta factor in, like, do you have the ability to dynamically set an email sequence to send off a higher amount as you get into a tighter time frame? Likely not. In most instances, you're doing kind of like a set it and forget it model with marketing automation once those emails are created. So for webinars, if we promote up to the 2 weeks out, here's what we do. And this is very important to understand. I want to make this really clear. We will choose to send more emails towards the tail end of the sequence. So as an example, let's say that this is 14 days out over here, and this is the day of the actual webinar in this case, okay? And down here represents our frequency count for how many we are going to be sending. We are going to start off with, as an example, 1, and we are going to work our way up. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 emails per day, and this is the 14 days out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. What we're going to do is we're going to send 1 confirmation and then maybe an email the second day, wait until we get a few days out, another few emails, and then once we get to the point where the actual webinar is going to occur, this specific sweet spot here is when we are going to start absolutely blasting people with emails, okay? So notice, we can still pile on a lot of information within the final few days, but we are going to essentially just leave people with some pretty basic information for that first duration, let's say the first 10 days as an example of the promotion cycle. This is important to understand. I know I'm sitting here talking to you about value-dense emails, and I don't want to go off track too much, but I do want to make sure we pepper this in. On this channel and in my business, we believe in a strategy I created called the Hammer Them strategy. The Hammer Them strategy exists, it's content marketing, and it is a propaganda machine. We're taking short form and long form pieces of content, 30 to 50 different pieces of short form, and anywhere from about 15 to 25, all the way up to 30 different pieces of long form, and we're hammering people with it before key events. So although yes, in this case, for the first 10 days in our webinar promotion sequence here, we don't have that many emails going out, we'd still have a ton of Hammer Them content that is blasting this individual. So we're not too concerned. We find that the value-driven emails have the most impact in the days leading up to the actual event itself, usually about 72 hours, at max about 4 days out. So to be clear, if it's a call funnel, we're just immediately upon the day they book that call, we're sending 6 a day. If it's a webinar, as I said, fewer quantity at first, much higher quantity as we lead up to the days of the actual webinar itself. And that'll allow you to do that set it and forget it kind of strategy where you're able to just set it all up and not have to go back and like dynamically change the sequence as you go. Okay, so outside of frequency, now that you understand that piece of it and you're comfortable with the idea of knowing how hard you can push it and knowing what to look for when it comes to I've gone too far, right? Remember, diminishing open rate means you've gone too far. Let's talk real quick about the open rate statistics that we generally see on these emails. And again, this is kind of crazy to me. I've historically seen anywhere from like 30 to 50% being a pretty good open rate on emails. Nowadays, it's very different. And I know this kind of sounds ridiculous at first and it might seem high because that's what I thought. And I've been a digital marketer for a very long time. 50 to 70% is the standard open rate that we're seeing right now when we do this high frequency of emails. So when we see a diminishing effect, it'll drop into like the 30s as an example if it's historically trended in the 50s. If it's historically trended in like the 60s or 70s, and I want to make that really clear, like if I'm doing 6 a day, right? Email 1 through email 6, I might see anywhere between like a 20% range. That doesn't mean that if my first one's 70 and my second one's 50, that's too many. That just means there's a range to it. You have to know the floor and you have to know the ceiling. Okay, so when you officially launch this, try to look for those brackets that you're gonna work between. Because again, your floor and your ceiling, when you break the floor by a significant amount, that's what's gonna be your indicator that you've gone too far and that you need to pull it back a fair bit. Does that make sense to you? I hope it does. Okay, so anyway, long story short, outside of these, again, rather crazy high open rates, I want to talk real quick about the click-through rate. So click-through rate is generally still about the same. We see about 2 to 5% for our click-through rates for whatever links we put inside of these emails. And this is a great transition point. This is an awesome bridge to talking about the emails themselves. Okay? One thing that a lot of like old school practices embody is taking the emails and using them to like drive people to some form of a consumable. Now we like doing that too. We are big fans of consumables on this channel. Consumables, what you want to be thinking with is like videos, podcasts, explainer pages, sales assets, trust assets, which we have entire videos dedicated to on this channel to help you understand how those work and what those are. But I want to be really clear when I say this. Due to the fact that there's such a low click-through rate on the consumables that are placed within these emails, we treat the emails like they are the consumable. Thus why we get to the mindset of we clearly need value-dense emails, okay? So let me be really clear real quick on how consumables work in a brief way rather than doing what we did in the entire video dedicated to consumables and sales assets and trust assets on this channel. Consumables as an example, let's talk about it in the form of like a sales asset or a trust asset. When we have companies that use tools like Gamma or Google Docs or even just standalone landing pages that are used for their follow-up sequences, they'll put a lot of like really good information on them. They'll have like case studies and testimonials, they'll have breakout videos explaining all types of commonly asked and answered questions on those pages. Just think of like a really long FAQ consumable, like it's a video that talks about these things. It's a page that just has all the answers and like visuals and other videos paired in with it. Both writing, videos, audios, these kinds of things are all paired in one place. And you're driving traffic to them from your emails generally. Well, as great as those really are, we see that they have a lot more clicks when salespeople are manually sending those things out. When we use those same sales assets and trust assets inside of our actual emails, again, 2 to 5% click-through rates means that 95 to 98% of people that are sitting there reading these things aren't actually clicking on them, so therefore they don't get the effect of them. From that perspective, when we build out our value-dense emails, we want to take the content of those consumables, of those trust assets and sales assets, and put them into an extremely value-dense email sequence, okay? So let's talk about how these emails are generally structured, because this is really important that you understand this. Again, when we're looking at up to 6 emails a day, the content is really important. You have to have range. You can't just talk lightly about specific things and then break it out over a few different emails. That's not the point of these things. I'll give you a few key examples. We do have an entire document. We have an SOP that we've recently created on confirmation page best practices. And within this SOP that we provide to all our Inner Circle members, and in addition to that, to all our Master Internet Marketing members as well, you'll see here, although they're blurred out, that there are a really high quantity of questions that we encourage that people ask and answer that as it relates to their sales process. These are generally used for what we call breakout videos. Now, breakout videos, this is one of those examples where I'll explain something to you, but I want to be really direct in saying I'm holding a lot of the information back for the people who pay us. People like our Inner Circle members that do twice a month one-on-one calls, weekly group calls, or quarterly in-person masterminds, have access, unlimited access at that, to AI Jeremy, have the group chat full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer, just shy of 1,000 different course videos on topics just like this, but in extreme depth with a lot of examples and also the ability to obviously ask us questions. In addition to that, we have our Master Internet Marketing members where they get 7 weeks of super in-depth, extremely long, very valuable course lessons and videos. It is a live class. When you join in between live classes, you get the recording straight away. And then when you join in when we're leading up to a live cohort, by the way, our next one's coming up here late summer of 2025, very exciting. We generally do it on an annual basis for our live classes. Sometimes we do them every other year. It depends on how much happens in the marketing world that then requires us to go back and update the entire class. That way everybody's working with updated information. We still drop lessons inside of the classes in between the live cohorts to make sure that everybody's up to date regardless. That also comes with a community and limited access to AI Jeremy, but I digress. The point I'm trying to make is I'm gonna hold back a little bit in this breakout video topic that I'm gonna articulate to you now. So breakout videos, we like to put them on confirmation pages, and we also like to use the content of those videos inside of our value dense emails. So in most instances, you'll have anywhere between 6 and all the way up to like 18 of these breakout videos on the confirmation pages of your call funnels, of your webinars after somebody opts in, of your challenge funnels after somebody purchases a ticket. You can even put breakout videos on the confirmation pages after somebody purchases a low ticket product. That way it helps with the ascension to the high ticket product. You see, breakout videos are a fundamental strategy that we are currently leveraging across the board in all of our different offers because they help the framing. They do the same thing that we're talking about here. Breakout videos, just like value dense email sequences, shorten sales cycles, increase the odds that somebody actually pays in full and purchases, so it increases close rates. And again, this is the most important part. We see again and again and again a massive lift in our show rates as a result of doing these things. So again, this video is dedicated to value dense email sequences, but I bring up breakout videos because the content of those videos is explained at length inside of each value dense email that gets created. And even though only 2 to 5% of people will click through, we will still send the ability for a person to go and consume that breakout video wherever it may be hosted at, whether it's within a sales asset, trust asset, or just back to the confirmation page. We also will have clients build out standalone landing pages that have that singular breakout video on it. That way the salespeople can use it when specific questions come up, and that way you can also leverage it inside of value dense emails. You see how this is working here? The content's not tough. Let me tell you some places that you source the content from and just give you some ideas for breakout videos too while we're at it. It's from your sales process. A lot of people like to guess. They like to take a stab at what they think people want to know. Just this most recent week, I sat down to film some breakout videos for one of our offers, Master Internet Marketing. You know what I did to come up with the questions that needed answered? I called the sales team and I said, hey guys, what are the questions that people are currently asking? What comes up most often? What holds people back from buying? What, when after somebody hears it, makes them buy at a faster rate? And I got a whole slew of different things, okay? So I want to be really clear on those categories again, because you need to be thinking with this. A lot of people, when they think of like,
oh, well, what can I do to actually get somebody to show up at a higher rate? What can I do to condense sales cycles?
they exclusively think of the reasons that somebody would not do something, which is important to cover, absolutely. But you also have to cover why they would do something and why they do already do something, okay? So again, talk to your sales team and ask, guys, what greases the wheels here on getting a deal done? What after somebody hears it just makes them say, I'm in? What are the things that you guys are annoyed by that you consistently have to talk about? What are you guys noticing that if somebody's thinking a specific way, prevents them from closing on that call and requires a follow-up call to occur? What are you guys noticing that people have as questions as it relates to price or potentially funding as an example? And you get all of these answers and then some. And like I described, we have an entire confirmation page best practice SOP that we give to all our students and our Inner Circle members, where we cover in depth a lot of these types of questions that we see commonly across the board, looking at all the different high-ticket products and service-based businesses that we currently help. So anyway, point I'm trying to make is you should be able to easily come up with, as an example, let's say you have 3 days worth of 6 emails a day that you need to send. You got 18 different emails that you need to write. 18 different questions that you are answering in depth. Or let's use the example that you don't get the benefit of doing 6 emails a day because around maybe 3 or 4 you saw a diminishing return on open rates. Not a problem, just means you're going to answer more questions inside of singular emails in comparison to spreading them out over singular emails. Point is, you're going to be writing very long form, valuable emails for probably the first time in your business. And you're going to support those emails with links to videos or other consumables that give people additional information on those topics that you're speaking on when requested. It's that simple. That's all value-dense emails really are. They come out to hundreds, if not low thousands, in terms of word count. They answer the same stuff that's going to be talked about on sales calls. They also address things for why people would not show up or would not prioritize being there. And more importantly than anything else, they address the reasons for why people will buy and why they do buy already. And it's very important to note, if you do not see a profound impact on show rate, close rates, more people doing pay in fulls, aka if you don't see your AOV go up by a fair bit, that means you're likely not doing this correctly. When we combine the confirmation page best practices and breakout videos with these value-dense emails, I mean, it is substantial in terms of the impact that we can quantifiably see across those KPIs. Now, I want to be fair in saying, in this video, I know I've only talked about the value-dense emails, and I've not talked about some of those other variables, like the confirmation page best practices, and like the breakout videos. However, the reason I know this is still going to be wildly impactful for those that are in the pursuit of 7-figure months is we've seen businesses where, keep in mind guys, like we work with busy rich people for a living. Sometimes these people don't even have the time to sit down and make the breakout videos that we need them to film for weeks at a time, but that doesn't negate the fact that we can immediately get some emails in play. So when we launch these emails, we still see a profound impact in those statistics that I talked about. But when we combine it with everything at once that we can do, obviously we see a little bit more of a profound impact above and beyond just doing a singular one of those variables. Hope this helps. This is one of my favorite things. It works so well. And as I mentioned, for those that are in the Inner Circle and for those that are in my Master Internet Marketing groups, we have plenty of SOPs, examples, and actual templates to go through for supporting you in doing this. So that'd be a great reason to buy. Check out the links down in the description, and I look forward to helping you get richer either way. Go check out some of the other videos on my channel, just in case you missed a few of the recent ones. They're all good. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Talk soon.